What we'll do is reopen the public hearing, which was suspended at the end of the last meeting that we had. So with that, I guess the other question is, Sean, did we get any correspondence, any further correspondence that,
We did not.
okay. So is there any additional public comment at this point?
I'm a neighbor on Rock Street,
Okay. Please,
and
please identify yourself so that for the record.
my name is Mary McHugh.
I'm sorry,
And
how do you spell that, Mary? I'm taking the notes for the minutes.
it's Mary, and
Uh-huh.
my name is Mchugh.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I own a building on Main Street that has a driveway on Rock Street. And so I go back and forth down Rock Street relatively frequently. And honestly, while I think the nuisance aspects of the construction really need to be addressed, I don't see anything particularly offensive about the driveway itself.
Okay, thank you.
Mary, can we also have your address, please?
The building is located at 103-105 Main Street. Who's asking?
I'm Sean. I'm the vice chair. We just need to have everyone's address reflected in the record.
Okay, it's 103-105 Main Street.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public comment?
Yes, Michael Reisman, 30 Rock Street. May I go ahead?
Yes, please.
So good evening, everyone. With all due respect to the prior commenter, I live on Rock Street. I actually just got home, but I am up and down the street frequently, just about every day. I was not up and down the street today because I was at work all day, but as set forth in the letters that I and a dozen neighbors on Rock Street who actually live on the street and on Kemble have expressed to this board. There are serious concerns we have about the impact of the project on the character of the neighborhood. In addition to the public health and safety aspects of the project, which we understand are only to a certain, let's say, narrow extent within the purview of this board. We get that. So I just want to make those views clear. And here I'm speaking for myself. If others want to provide additional, other signatories to the letters to the HDRB want to provide additional comments, they're welcome to. I would also say I have not seen additional materials describing the project made available on the village website, the HDRB pages of the website. It's possible I may have overlooked those pages. I've like to think I'm pretty good at navigating websites. I just haven't seen any additional information. And I know that was a topic of some extended discussion during the last meeting of this board before Christmas. So it's challenging on that end to respond to something that we haven't, or I haven't personally seen yet. And I would also say, there was a comment during the last meeting that people can go to the village hall. Well, I work more than 9 to 5 most days, not in the village. So it's quite frankly impossible for me to go to the village hall to request information. But again, if there has been additional information about the project provided that was requested by this board, at the last meeting, I would appreciate it if it could be either made available, or if it is in fact on the village website somewhere, if someone could point that out, because I just have not seen it.
Michael, could I suggest, obviously our minutes are posted a week or two after our meetings occur, but the minutes are, and I write them with Michael, the minutes are a really good resource for you if you really want to dig into the details of things like materials, because I know editing the minutes, I'm very keen on materials details. So you will find that information in the minutes. Again, it's not going to be an instant upload, but we're trying to stay on top of it. We have a lot of meetings, but that is a place where you can find information about materials.
I attended the last meeting and I commented, and I actually took my own very extensive notes. I'm talking about the information from the applicant that the board requested, which
okay.
would have gone from the applicant to the board.
There was, yeah, Michael, there was an additional annotated drawing, a site plan that the applicant submitted, as well as an architectural rendering, and they've both been posted on our website since Monday morning. It's in the public hearings section. It's the only public hearing that's listed. It's still dated the 23rd, because this is technically still the public hearing from the 23rd. It's the last two items. And I'm sure they'll be
addressing
Okay.
my concern. I'm just going to look for that. If you
Okay.
wouldn't mind, just give me 2 seconds. So I see okay, I see revised drawing 0104-2021. Is that the first item you're talking about?
yes, that should be. I'm going to open it as well. Yes, that's the revised drawing after our site visit that we had with them. And then the second image is a rendering giving showing the final delta. I don't know if that's the right word. The final sweep of the end of the driveway and proposed landscaping.
Okay, and you said that those were, I hadn't seen them last week, and I've literally been working 8:30 to 7:30 every day this week. I have not seen those before, but I would just say, having looked at them now, personally for me, it doesn't change the views that I and my neighbors expressed in the letters. Every time I walk past every time I walk down the street, it's literally a couple hundred feet, if that, from my house. I see huge chunks of rock, of the original rock outcropping that are strewn across the area. It looks to me like a larger site, and potentially in the future a larger site than is perhaps indicated in these drawings. And I would just urge this board to take that into consideration, that it's one thing to have drawings, but we've also heard the applicant and Mr. Hilpert say that sometimes there are aspects of the construction that, as they occur, deviate from plans. I think that has been expressed in the past, that due to circumstances or the toughness of rock or what have you, that the work doesn't always go according to plans. And I just, that gives me pause, and I think it should give this board pause as well.
But
So-
does that have anything to do with the historic review board? I was down the street today. I didn't see any huge chunks of rock.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Whoever
All
is
right, but-
speaking, can you just identify yourself if you're going to be speaking?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Mary McHugh again.
Sorry, Mary.
Sorry, I just drove down the street today and I didn't see huge chunks of rock. But I just wonder what all that has to do with the historic review board.
Well, I don't think it's really probably the purpose of public comment to have public commenters go back and forth, but I will just say
It isn't. It
it's
isn't.
pretty, it is because it's a rock outcropping.
Okay.
And it is a project within the historic district.
All right, thank you. I'll ask if there are other commenters.
Al, this is Matt. I've got a comment.
Yes, please.
Yeah, speaking as a homeowner, not as the chair of the planning board, I think it's clear it's not coming to the planning board. That certainly is my interpretation, as well as the village attorneys. A few things kind of concerned me, after the last hearing. The new chapter 64.5A3 kind of talks about, in my opinion, talks about how the board is intended to function, which is to do these surveys and to designate these resources. But they can't even designate them on their own. This board has to designate them to the mayor and the board of trustees to then, to landmark them, or let's say call them contributing. In my understanding, that was not done here, right? And I don't know that you've actually dealt with a natural resource. I know this is the first one, and I certainly understand the desire to, protect, what you believe to be significant, but there also has to be a balance to that, in my opinion, as a homeowner, that this, there would be, a designation, that there would be a public hearing, that the homeowner that was affected could have a voice in that process. The residents, the taxpayers would have a voice. So it couldn't be perceived as a, as a negative consequence, or even as severe as a taking. Right, to say that I can't use my property for its intention is concerning to me as a property owner. So I would just caution, as a property owner, not as the chair of the planning board, although obviously I'm used to the code, to look at kind of the way that the board has functioned in the past, which is, like the 2009 survey, which obviously wasn't completed, that to say that in such broad terms that the HDRB has dominion over land, sea, and air because they're all natural resources is a real reach, and a concerning reach to me as a property owner.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other comments? Going once. Going twice.
If I could just speak briefly. This is Luke Hilbert.
All right, except Luke, are you speaking to respond to a comment that was heard in the public?
No,
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just speaking on behalf of the applicant in this instance. Certainly, we're here before this board. We were referred over. We have submitted our application, and we presented the information, and I think we're set to stand on that. And we hope that this board, I know there's a lot of perception, especially from the neighbors, about the health and the safety, and those will certainly be addressed in other instances. But this board is looking at the very narrow issue before, and I have confidence in our application. I appreciate all of your time on it.
Okay, thank you. All right, with that, I'll now close the public hearing portion of the, or I guess the public comment portion of the public hearing. I would like to, and basically I'll be opening it up to the board members for discussion concerning what was heard, as well as the application. I would like to take this opportunity to address the comment raised by Matt, and I understand his concern. The only thing is that during the discussion, because the ordinance was rewritten recently, so during that discussion, we went over the topic of natural resources, and I don't think that we claim to have cognizance over all the forces of nature that our community is in. But there is a historic district which is described to some extent, but it doesn't get down into nitty-gritty details. We do feel that there are natural features which are in the historic district that in fact are character defining features. And certainly the fact that something is a character defining features has not necessarily been identified for every single piece of property. So I don't think that we're overreaching. I think that there is some work that we will in fact do to perhaps clarify that for everybody involved in the process. But I think that in this particular case, the rock ledge that is a prominent feature of the particular site is in fact a character defining feature of this property. So with that, I'll toss it open to other board members for their questions and comments.
Al, do we need a motion to close the public hearing?
No, because the public hearing is not really closed, right? I mean, we closed public comment.
Okay.
I believe John is,
Yeah, you should. I mean, if you're closing it to public comment, you should make a motion to close the public hearing. You can certainly have discussion amongst yourselves, and you can have discussion with the applicant and his representatives. But
Right. Okay.
if you're going to close the public hearing, then I would make a motion to close it.
All right. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I move to close the public hearing.
I have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Lloyd? Okay. Okay. Now, any questions or comments from the board members? Okay, Sean, can you call up the site plan?
Sure.
Okay, and this is the document which is the most current one, right?
I believe, but Luke, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Or anyone.
Sure. I'm not seeing the shed designations on it. So I don't think this is the most current. Are there?
Yeah,
Oh,
the two-
yes, this is
Yes.
the most, this is the most current.
Previous. Sorry, I'm looking at it in previous, so we might be losing some lines as I zoom in and zoom out. But
Okay, no, that's correct. That's the most current.
and this is what was also posted to our website.
Okay, I guess the question that had been raised before was whether or not further rock chiseling is required to get all the way up to the top, as opposed to leveling out the area closest to the house right now. And so that's my question to Luke and Bill. The area by where the tree is, that is the area which, and I think if you have a photograph of that.
I have the rendering that I can share that Bill provided, but
Well, no, there's a photograph in the second file, a folder that you had, which was all site images.
okay. Just bear with me one moment. Yes, okay. This might not be a file format that I can share, but if you just, give me a moment, I can try. Okay.
Okay, right there, that's the one. What we see in the lower photograph is a portion of the site which was already chiseled by the time the work was stopped. I guess my question is that is there any reason why the the extent into the site can't be stopped there and that leveled out? The issue is that we already have a disturbance of the rock, and realistically, we need to, address that. But from what we saw, it seems like if the area immediately around, and I think that's a picture of you, Mr. McComish, that if that area that where the rock was already disturbed is flattened out, would that not essentially give you what you were looking for, a parking area, without going all the way further back to the rock which is behind you?
I think what Al is trying to say is it possible to decrease the length of the driveway so that the parking area is actually closer to the house than is currently proposed? Because when we were at the site visit, what we observed was that the proposed parking area is actually quite far from the residence.
Yeah, I would add that the proposed parking area is maybe as far from the residence as the current parking area is, as well as probably another third of the way up the hill to the top, if not more.
So I'll speak to that briefly. It's to put the parking area in that space would not leave, it was determined by Mr. McComish and the contractor, wouldn't leave enough room to turn around. And to level it there would still require quite a bit of rock removal to the sides. But the way the land slopes, it's an easy entrance from the top. It's a little smoother, and there are stairs on that side already. Even though it's a little bit further, it was a flatter.
Well, but the stairs going down to the houses which are along the street are off to the right. And from what I remember, basically there was one set of stairs which goes down to the house that is the furthest east, and then there are another set of stairs that go over to the other house. So it seems like the parking space would actually be closer rather than where you're proposing it. That, and also there is some rock excavation, but you can see that the rock is already disturbed, whereas the rock does in fact rise as you go towards the back. And I think that what you'd wind up doing is having a lot more rock excavation just to bring it down to a level that's acceptable. And at least that's from what we saw, that's the way it appeared.
Yeah, and I think when we were at our site visit a couple of weeks, last week, I guess it was, one thing that I was surprised to see once we were actually at the site was how far the parking area was from the residents, because of course this whole conversation began with increasing the accessibility to the residents itself. I was surprised at how far the parking area was going to be and how far further uphill. And we specifically asked whether there was going to be any additional grading or landscaping or staircases or anything incorporated into the site to make the access from the parking area to the house uh, easier or less strenuous, since that was the original proposal that the applicant came with. And the applicant said that there wasn't a plan for anything else to connect the parking area to the house. So not only is it in my view, not only is it a question of further distributing, further disturbing the rock area, and of course the flat parking area as drawn on your site plan is the area that's going to have the deepest, although I realize it is not consistent across the surface, but it's proposing the deepest cut into the rock. From a kind of, visual aspect and a sort of community, the character of the district aspect, what essentially is going to be the result is this driveway in this parking area that sort of sits by itself on the highest part of the property and isn't really associated with the residents, which seems very out of keeping with the way that parking is accommodated in other areas, other properties in this area. It's almost like you have this existing parking pad at the bottom of the hill, and you're going to put a second one the same distance away, but at the top of the hill. I don't see how that serves the brief.
Well, the parking at the top of the hill would serve both houses. So that's part of the reason putting it up there. And again, it was just determined that to put it lower, there's not enough room to adequately have parking and turn around.
All right.
And backing down is no.
So your time, when you talk about.
Wait, before we do that, Sean, let's go back to the site plan, because I think, that shows it, that the fact that I think that there is enough room.
Okay, let me just see if I can get them all open at once. Give me one moment.
Can I just ask Luke a question though?
Sure.
When he talks about both houses, you're talking about the two pre-existing residential structures that sit right on Rock Street.
That's correct.
The
That's
family
correct.
compound.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Those two. The parking, there is, they utilize parking across the street, but there's no permanent parking. It's not an official recorded easement or anything like that. So to have
It's
the
street
parking. There's street parking, and I believe, or the tenants do use one of the parking from the main street building. So there are a couple of spaces that are used by the tenant, but that's not a permanent arrangement. So this is to help achieve that for both units.
So in terms of winter parking, they do have some kind of loose agreement with the building on Main Street. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's very loose.
Okay,
That's
that answers. Just wanted to know.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so what we have is that the area to be graded, if that is moved further down the driveway, I think that you're actually, because am I not correct, the stairs going down to the two structures, if I remember correctly from the site, was to the left of that first building?
That's correct.
All right.
But again, I was not involved in the decision-making process as to what's required to turn around. But to move that down lower would it starts to the property starts to go back downhill on the side here towards the residence. So you don't have as much area as it actually looks on this, on the plat, because it doesn't take into that.
All right, but I mean, the thing is that that is the area that has been chiseled out already. And my feeling is that you can take that turnaround area and move it down to the area where the rock has already been disturbed, level that out, and you'll be closer to the buildings, because from that upper area, how would you get to those stairs going down to the left of the building? You'd have to cross over this rock that remained there. I mean, it seems kind of it seems like you're making it difficult to use the parking area by keeping it all the way up at the top.
That, again, that it was determined that that's in order to have enough area to park and turn around, that's where it needed to be, and that's
Sean,
the application.
Luke, would it help to maybe, I know this kind of got sprung on you guys tonight. Would it help to, I don't know when the board meets again, but maybe to kind of analyze it some more and then come back with a firm answer in a week or two, whenever the next meeting is?
That's I mean, anything could be done. I don't believe that. I'll let Mr. McComish speak, but I believe this is the application that he has before the board, and this is the application where he would like to attempt to put the parking area.
I did a quick, just sort of tracing on my own. I can show it if you want, if
Yes,
I'm allowed
please.
to. It looks like it fits just about the same, but I need to share screen.
I will allow you to share the screen.
One of the advantages of a Zoom meeting.
Lloyd is much higher tech than I am, so I'm like hovering over things with my cursor while he's making drawings. Are you able to share now, Lloyd?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me get to. Can you see that with red and blue?
Yes.
Yes.
So the red is just traced over what you're proposing. The blue is just moving that same group of lines down the
And
hill.
that
to the
brings
house.
you closer to the other residents. And I think Bill said that he was actually keeping, God, I keep pointing at the screen like anyone can see what I'm doing. The original kind of parking spot that was situated just, above the curb on Main Street, on Rock Street. I believe Bill said that he was maintaining that, right? Where the retaining wall was kind of falling apart with the,
That's
he said
correct.
that he was going to replace the railroad ties in, replacement in kind. And we said, that's fine. That's just maintenance. So would it be possible for, it sounds like the other residence is being treated as a rental property. I mean, you have a landing for a vehicle there, and then with Lloyd's proposed reconfigurement.
Just a quick comparison. I mean,
Right, because when we were at the site,
you
and I had this, you and I had the same thought that this whole turnaround area could be brought closer to the residence, and then you still maintain another parking spot at the landing of the driveway.
Yes, Lloyd, would it be possible to bring up, I guess one of the photographs looking up the hill, because this area.
Give it back to Sean.
Okay.
Who has those up, I think. I don't have those. Well,
The area
You wanna
in
take Sean?
blue is, I believe it slopes back, or it does slope back down to the home, and I don't know how much more would need to be
Well,
taken out there.
I thought it
go
was
back
1
to
to 3
that photo.
feet.
Yeah, go back to that photograph that we were looking at before with Mr. McComish standing
I don't know
in.
if that shows enough of the house. That was my concern.
Well, you can see the house is off to the right.
I'm gonna.
I mean, what I observed at the site visit, and I was standing there pretty much most of the time, that was, so what Lloyd is proposing as a turnaround spot, that was less rock face, much more soil, topsoil, which I would imagine would just be more practical to move around.
But if you, so that any of these are
Okay.
fine, Sean. So if you look where the machine is on this one, that's about the area that where Mr. McComish was standing.
Yeah,
And that's the part that's already been disrupted. So to go to the right of in the photo, to go to the right of it to disrupt more, that's downhill. In order to level it, you would actually have to come back and take out, you know, as we stated on the drawing, I think it was a foot or so that needed to come out more. You'd end up, in order to level it, probably having to take a
But I'm
significant.
saying I think that would
Well-
actually be preferable over removing more of the sheer rock face, because what I observed in that area, I mean, go ahead, you know, in my view, removing a foot or more of the grade there, you're talking about, you know, topsoil and grass. It's not anything really unique, whereas the sheer rock face is. And I think just in terms of design, it brings it closer to the residents, and you're not disrupting any more rock face, which, you know, frankly, you know, just be more disruptive.
Right. I
you
mean,
could
the
also
issue,
fill, you
the
could,
issue,
you don't have to remove more, you can fill the lower area that you say you need to get
True.
down lower to get to. You could level it out by filling a portion.
And then we need
closer to the
retaining
house
walls.
as well. Yeah.
well,
Um,
but wait a minute.
Also, I think
No,
it's just,
no, wait a minute. Yeah, let's go back to the image where Mr. McComish is standing, because
it's just
the problem with this is that you're looking at it in the perspective, and I don't think it is as sloped as it appears in that image. All right, if you see off to the right, that's the area that we're talking about, and so you obviously will have to remove some more stone in order to get a half decent grade in that particular location.
but it's
But
half
I think
done.
that you're talking about an area where the stone was already disturbed,
Right.
and where all you're doing is leveling out the area. And I think it can be done without retaining walls. I think it can be leveled out with minimal further disruption of the rock. Whereas if you go back further, you'd have to, as you said, in some places go down 3 feet. I think in this particular area, we're only talking about, maybe a foot and a half further down in areas that are still high. So I think what we're trying to do is minimize the amount of disruption to the rock face that we have here on site.
And the secondary issue as well is we we are inclined to minimize the disruption to the rock, but also once the project is done and dusted and everything the plantings are in, we need to make sure that the overall impact of the proposed alteration is mitigated as well. And by moving the parking area closer to the residence, it decreases, the top of this hill is visible from a lot of the streets around, not just Rock Street itself, but it's visible from Wall Street, and it's visible from a big portion of Kemble, and even part of that street behind Kemble.
Boulevard.
The Boulevard. Yeah. So, I think by trying to tuck it closer to the residents, it's just, I mean, obviously no one is going to be fooled and think that this gravel driveway aligning with the residents was a naturally occurring feature. Of course, that's not what we're suggesting, but it does follow a more natural and perhaps more sort of historically minded path to get to that area. And it's again more in keeping with what a lot of the other houses along Rock Street and in the immediate area, how they would sort of deal with parking. From a character standpoint and a streetscape standpoint, having this big parking area that's not really near either of the property, either of the residences on this property, it just creates this strange story of why would you have this driveway to nowhere and this parking lot on top of the hill, when it doesn't seem to really be providing access to either of the houses.
Yeah, I just would want to reinforce that the parking on top of the hill in particular, it doesn't seem to me to be protecting any sort of character of the neighborhood of the village by having cars plopped on the top of the hill there. I also want to say that a lot of this design, and I said this a couple meetings ago, it's not designed, it's a kind of contractor design build, and contractor told us this, we don't know, it might be, I don't know, it just, you can, if you want, figure out the cubic inches of stone that you're taking out of this place, if you did some design ahead of time, and none of that's being done, and it is open to change. There is no design, there's nothing so concrete. I know we reviewed some areas that are 1 to 3 feet, but still it's like, is it 1 or is it 3 feet? Is it 3'5", you know, more, because it was determined for some reason that it's more. So I still have that issue, but I would be a lot happier with something that's tucked into the hill, servicing the buildings more readily, but not only in plan and proximity, but also in elevation. It's another 10 feet up there to the top. I don't understand how that's easier to get to, or to access the house.
Excuse me, could I have my other attorney joined by telephone, please?
Sure.
Mr. Lynch?
Up to me.
Yes.
Are they already,
Yes.
are they in the waiting room?
I'm not sure. I'm trying
Mr.
to find
Lynch,
out. at the
Mr.
moment.
Lynch, are you available?
I think he might want to join by telephone. I don't know if he has the number.
I don't see anybody in the waiting room, Bill, but if you just forward him the email that I sent to you earlier today, the telephone dial-in instructions are in there.
Okay, let's see what I can do here. Hold on.
I do see one person joining by phone, but I, you know, obviously it's just their number. They're not labeled, so I don't know who it is.
Hold on, let me see what I can do here. Okay, go to the emails. Hold on.
Yeah, it's in the invitation, in the agenda.
Not finding it at the moment.
You can also always go to the village website and pull up the Historic District Review Board tab. And our Zoom link for all of our meetings is right there on our page in the lower left-hand corner.
Let me see if I can get him. Hold on.
Sometimes that's quicker.
Okay, let me see what I can do.
But I think in summary, I think the board is kind of asking if you guys are willing to analyze this alternative. Is that the sense I'm getting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if it can't happen, it can't happen. But maybe if there's some documentation you can show that, you know, this isn't a viable alternative, then, you know, I think that might kind of, it could, you know, that will shed light on the situation.
Is it possible you could call him? He seems to have trouble getting in for some reason.
Is he
Maybe we can do that.
I
There's no way
can't.
Zoom can do that.
Sorry.
I don't think
Okay.
so.
It's not that I'm not willing to, it's that we are not capable of doing that.
No, I don't think Zoom allows that to happen.
Well, I guess just talking to Bill.
Oh, sorry. There's somebody.
If you have his email address, you can send him an
Is it
invitation.
is modification to the layout something that you're willing to consider?
I think
Bill, we
everybody.
can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now at all? Dennis Lynch speaking.
Yes. we
Oh,
can hear you.
yes.
Oh,
Okay, good evening. Thank you for letting me join. I appreciate it. I just want to make an important point, I think. I think we all respect the applicant and council respect your efforts. But in all due respect, your planning board chairman said it best before. Your jurisdiction is not in planning. You are engaging in planning right now. You're doing something that is outside your jurisdiction. We appreciate those efforts. But in all due respect, you're outside your jurisdiction, and I place you on notice of that. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, but actually rock outcroppings are under our purview. It is in the chapter 64 of the village code.
If I have read the village code. You also heard your planning board chairman say your function is to designate and have approved through the appropriate processes what is a natural resource, what is not. So again, I just respectfully submit you're outside your jurisdiction. Thank you.
We are also discussing.
If I can say something, our
Well,
planning board
please.
chairman said that as a member of the community and not as the planning board chairman, which I think is kind of an equal board to ours. This is not unlike anything we do with other applicants week after week after week, brainstorming ideas and trying to mitigate impact on the.
Well, and it's in our village code. We do
But-
review outcroppings. This is the first time,
Okay.
and this was not done correctly.
right.
But
I think that
not
we're
outside our purview.
Yeah, Andrea, I think that with our village attorney on this at this meeting, this is an issue that obviously Mr. Lynch is putting us on notice. Fine, and I don't think that we need to answer him right now.
One thing, if I could add, is I wouldn't get so hung up on I guess, the functionality of the parking. Maybe that's what he's alluding to. That's kind of like more of a site plan issue as far as it works better here than there for functional purposes. If you're saying it works better, your alternative is better because there's less of an impact on the rock outcropping. I think that's fine, but don't say it should be here
Alright.
because of functionality. I think maybe that's what he may have been referring to.
Okay, then let me state it clearly. I think that what we're looking at is trying to minimize the disruption of the rock face that is there, which is a character defining feature of this particular site. And we're offering an alternative which would have other benefits, which we don't necessarily discuss, but the primary purpose is to minimize the amount of rock that is being excavated. And I would like to hear from the applicant, Mr. McComish, whether or not he is willing to consider that.
I will speak for Mr. McComish. We respectfully ask the board to do their function, make their decision, and we will follow up from there. And just for the record also, your own code enforcement officer said the issue of natural resource is vague. I've already advised your village attorney the particular statute you're enforcing is unconstitutional and void for vagueness. That being said, please make your decision and we'll follow up appropriately as is required by law. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I don't feel like we can have any anymore.
I agree.
Can I make a motion to?
Well, first, let's do secret and get that out of the way.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay, then do I have a motion?
I'll let
concerning-
Andrea do it. Andrea, would you like to make the seeker motion?
You were already.
Okay.
I'll follow your lead.
I would consider this to be a type 2 action under SECRA. It's a modification to a residential parcel.
I will second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Sean?
Aye, sorry, I should have said it's a minor modification to a residential parcel.
All right.
I will say aye.
So with that, is there any further discussion, any statements that any of the board members want to make? Okay. Do I have a motion concerning this application?
I would make a motion to deny this application as submitted.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Question for Todd. Do you feel that you want to take part of this vote?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. All right. With that, Lloyd, you're in the upper right-hand corner.
I am going to abstain also. I don't feel able to make a clear decision given the proceedings.
Okay, Andrea?
I seconded.
Okay, so that's an aye.
Yes.
John?
Aye.
Okay, and I also vote aye. I think that this is a important feature on the site, and I think that there is an option to minimize the disruption, which has not been entertained, and so therefore I vote aye to disapprove the application.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
The next order of business is for Morris Avenue. Eric or Katie, are either of you here?
Can I
Yep.
need a quick
Hi,
break.
we're here.
Oh, you're both here. Okay. Lloyd is adjourning for a quick moment, so I'll pull up your do you want to share, or should I open up what you sent earlier?
I have everything. I have everything up if you want to do that.
Yep. You should be allowed to.
I have to go turn the stove off. I'll be back in 1 second.
Okay.
Sorry, multitasking.
We're all there.
While we're waiting for Lloyd, Eric Todd Secreture is the newest member of our board. So we may need you to repeat a couple of things that we've talked about in previous sessions, but we shared your materials with him. He lives down the street from you. So
Guys, I'm signing off.
Oh, thank you, John.
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't give you that opportunity.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, so should we just start at the beginning again for everyone's benefit, or get into it now? Or
yeah, why don't you just go through it all over again, and then that way by the time Lloyd's back, Todd will be up to date with everything.
Okay, so I'll try to keep it short in an abridged version. We were seeking to replace windows on the second floor of our house, primary residence, and reached out to a couple contractors, ended up working with Pella, and sort of rushed to a decision through kind of a high pressure sales moment to purchase windows, and then realized through various channels, actually through participating in getting our fence approved, that we needed to go through the review board. So we reached out to a previous board member to sort of talk through next steps, put together sort of an unofficial application, and then brought it to the board. What we had purchased was replacement windows for the entire second floor. And there are a couple issues with that, I think, from the historic review board perspective. One is the material, two is the sort of glazing and space exposed, and a couple other things. And we also just didn't have enough information at the time. So when we sort of came to the board in the past, we weren't really able to we weren't able to present a full case and really seek approval. So we went back to the drawing board, got the assistance of a lawyer who reached out to Pella to try to reach a compromise to see if we could kind of claw back the money we invested in the full replacement. Went back to the board while that was in motion to say we've also developed what we hope would be an additional compromise. And that's sort of where this presentation gets into. So instead of replacing all of the windows on the second floor, we'd only replace very select windows, which I can explain through the slide deck. It's a little bit easier if people are looking at it visually.
Sure. Great.
So we're wishing to replace a total of 5 windows in the master bedroom, which is facing Route 9. And it's replacing what was sort of a hastily constructed enclosure of what used to be a porch done in the 50s or 60s. We don't know the exact date it was done. Could have even been the 70s. So we would do that. That would be the first part. And then the second bullet here is the sort of additional compromise that we landed on. We reached out to a couple people in the community, architects, planners, and contractors to see if we can replace and create new of our historic storm windows on the second floor and the bottom floor for the whole house. So I forget the total because we have one spare downstairs, so it's not exactly, we're not exactly clear on what's what. But they're going to replace a couple and then replace some of the hardware, insert some of the hardware that's missing within the windows so they actually close because they just kind of hang there right now. The thing is with that, it's a pretty elaborate process and the contractors hasn't really gotten back to us yet. So we're kind of waiting on those plans, but we do have some preliminary information here to share with everybody just so you have a gist of what we're talking about. So the window replacements in part 1. So here's the house as it was. The house was built, we think about 100 years ago, 125 years ago. You can see in the middle picture where the porch used to be, and then all the way to the right is the enclosure as it exists today. So this
Todd,
is
sorry, not to interrupt you. Todd, this is the house. This is the house between the library and Whistling Willie's. It's now like a darker gray, like, yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, it wasn't our choice on the color before. Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of reasons this matters to us because number one, it's an old enclosed porch. It's super drafty. It's right on Route 9. It's our bedroom, so we wanted some additional sound protection, some additional close off the draft, and Katie works in there. We're all working from home right now, but anything we can do to sort of make it more quiet, that was our goal. That remains the goal. So the windows we purchased and the agreement we're about to reach with Pella, but it's conditional on your approval and support, is to take the windows that we originally purchased and just replace these replacement windows from the past and forego all the rest. So these are sort of the specs on those windows for the 2 side windows. And I'll explain what those are. I can kind of go through this right now quickly, just to let you know what's being replaced. So these count as 3 windows in the front. Yep. I'm pointing at the screen, but that's not helpful. So there's the 2 grills on the side and then the 1 picture in the middle. And these are the sizes of the replacements down below. We've updated them from the last time that we spoke to the board. So they were off by like 1/2 inch, I think. So those are the actual sizes of what would actually be put in there. So those 3 would be replaced. That's the sizing of the one in the middle. It's pretty much 1-to-1, but that was also off the last time we measured. And then we would replace the 2 on the side and they would be identical. And that's the updated sizing. There's the second window on the other side, just so you can see it. I guess I'll stop there if there's any questions or if that's all pretty straightforward.
So the two in the front, the left and the right side, are the light patterns of the windows going to match the 4? Is it 4/4, or are you proposing just one light over one light of glass, like the sides?
Yeah, we decided on just doing the one light over one light here. I think in previous conversations and brainstorming sessions we had with the group, we all came to the conclusion that having like the grill inserts probably wasn't the best idea just aesthetically. And we opted to just go with the single light over single light, also because it matches the rest of the house too. These are the only windows that kind of have pattern.
Yeah. We also felt like the options through Pella, as for what we paid for, were they're a little chintzy looking, so we didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Also, Todd, the window in the gable, the attic window, is not being changed at all. So it will end up being, so that's obviously 1/1. So the whole facade will be more cohesive.
Uniform.
Yeah, and you can't really see it, but there's an additional window on the porch that's also a 1/1. Okay, so those are the windows. So then the storm window repair and replacement. This is going to impact the entire house. It should actually, assuming it's not going to be massively expensive, it should be a really cool repair for us. So these are the ones that currently exist, and they're going to serve as the models for all the rest. There's only 2 on the back, so the back is all set as is. These 2 on the side, it's possible the smaller window is busted, so it's just sort of jammed in there. They'll have to repair and add the hardware. And then the one next to it, it may or may not be down in the basement, so that may or may not be a new one. And then above it, the attic never had them. It doesn't have the hardware, so we were just going to put this is. Same deal with the attic on this side. That's just the same. And then right below it, the small window would be a new one. And then the one next to it may or may not be a new one. So it depends on what happens with the other side. That doesn't exist. We know that for a fact. So that would be a new replacement. And this is sort of a detail picture from the sort of extra one that we have in the basement.
We actually have 2 in the basement.
Oh yeah, so there's a smaller one that we have no idea where it fits because it doesn't line up size-wise with anything. Yeah, so this is the one that could fit in one of the windows upstairs. You can see the hardware's on it, and it's a pretty simple design. They're pretty lightweight. Is that it?
Yeah, that's
oh,
it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So
I didn't take a picture of the interior hardware. So there's some extra hardware that makes it so you can sort of pop the window out, kind of like the example we showed on the back of the house, and also close it all the way too. And that's also what we'd like to have replaced on the windows that we have currently, just because only the 2 in the back actually close properly and open properly. So we are also wanting actually working with Jay Brennan and Tim Brennan, who are our locals. They would be, I think, helping us with that.
Okay, but I think that doesn't need to be part of the application because I don't think you're going to see that from the street.
Yeah, that's an interior feature, but that's great that you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So that's that. And just to underscore the point, we this was part of the compromise. So if we were going to put in windows that weren't totally up to snuff or spec in the front, we wanted to offset it by sort of contributing to the overall character of the building with a feature that's missing currently or incomplete.
And then another element too as well, Todd, that we discussed was that the new Palo windows are black or gray, or they're like a deep gunmetal. So part of the further mitigation will be that all of the windows in the house will be painted to match the pre-finish of the new windows. So it'll just be a little bit more, again, a little bit more uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
And also too, just, you know, once all the storms are up there, you won't be able to see that paint job necessarily, but when we take them off, off in the summer, you'll be able to tell.
We'll get to enjoy them all summer.
Yeah, that's right. So this is the end of the presentation. I can stop the share if there's other documents you need to see or you want to go back, just let me know.
No, I don't think so. But Al, we did, Katie did annotate the first page of her application to reflect these changes that we're looking at now. So,
Okay, and I guess the question is that are there any windows on the first floor that are being changed? I thought I saw one window on the first floor.
That's
Yeah,
the only
Yeah,
one
that
that's
one.
missing. Yeah.
yeah, that's the only one that's missing right now.
Okay, so in other words, on the first floor, there are existing storm windows that you're going to maintain.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
All the other ones have
So,
storm
so in
windows.
other words, the application is replacement windows for that portion above the porch that faces the street. Otherwise, either new or refurbished storm windows for all the windows on the first and second floor. The attic remains as is.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm actually just going to pull up your, just give me 1 second. I just want to make sure that what Al is speaking into the record is what we have on your application.
And you'll be painting all of the existing windows to match the new Pella color. That's what you said.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
side windows presumably as well on the outside, just that perimeter, the wood, or
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, we were kind of going back and forth on that. We weren't sure if we should just paint the sashes, like the interior sashes on the windows that are normally covered by the storms, the same color as the replacement windows, or if we should, do the storm windows as well in the same color. We're open to either option.
Well, I would think that what would look appropriate would be if the storm sashes were in fact painted the same color as the window, because in reality, what you've got is you've got the casings around the windows. They're going to remain a white? Is that correct?
The casings are the trim on the outside.
Right.
The
Right.
white. Yeah, it's like a light gray, so that'll
Okay.
stay the same.
All right, that'll stay, and the darker color that you're talking about now is just the windows that are installed inside, as well as the existing windows that are to be maintained.
Yep.
So I would paint the storm sashes the same color as the windows.
yeah, because it overlaps the double hung sash.
Right.
Right, and Al, also the new windows that are going in are insertion windows. They're not full frame replacement. So they themselves will have a frame within the opening,
Yeah,
if I remember correctly. So it'll be so the existing trim casework around the windows that's currently there will remain.
Right.
So that surface isn't changing at all, but then you'll have the full black frame on the inside.
Right.
Okay, and this is the application sort of as modified, just that it's the is that a 5 or a 6? 5 windows, sashes to match the replacement, and approximately 8 storm windows with new hardware, and 2 new to match.
Yep.
So for SECRA, I would consider this to be a type 2 application, because again, it's a minor modification to a residential.
Do I have a
building.
second?
I'll second.
I'll second. Oh, go ahead, Lloyd.
Lloyd B.
Yeah,
Yeah.
quit hogging it, Andrea. Come on. Give everybody a chance. Okay, all those in favor of the type 2 SECRA application, say aye.
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 And I will make a motion to accept the application as modified.
Well, no. Well, let's clarify. Modified in what way?
Oh, modified as reflected in the application. Modified to include 5 new replacement windows on the second floor volume. What?
No, because it's It may
Oh, I
be
guess
the
it's
same
resubmitted.
It's a
Okay.
resubmitted application.
Sorry,
So,
I will make a motion then to accept the application as resubmitted.
do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, aye. All right, unanimous.
Great.
I just
So,
wanted to thank you for
oh.
working with us, and thank you for working with us and coming back and exploring ideas. And I know it wasn't easy and fun
Yeah.
either. But I
And
think,
congratulations for
we're
standing up for
pretty-
yourselves.
Yeah, I think we're pretty reasonable people.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be to have a discussion.
Oh, thank you. And thank you so much for your time and your patience. Like we were total newbies to the whole process. And I just really appreciate all of your kindness as we're going through this. And sorry, our little dog is yapping up a storm downstairs. So
No, that's fine.
The dog is
We all have
happy.
background
Product
noise.
approved.
Very happy you have
Okay.
the fence, I'm sure. So what will happen next is Al, over the weekend, will mark up your application and stamp it and approve it and send a copy to you and send a copy to the building inspector. And then the building inspector will be able to issue your permit, although you should confirm with her just the changes that we've made here. I mean, she'll see it on our paperwork, but just confirm that the scope has changed.
Right. And just find out if you have all the paperwork that she needs for the application. So.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Thank you.
And you have a year. You have a year to get it done. So before it expires. So.
Oh, good.
If it snows for 3 months, don't worry about it.
Okay, I didn't even think about that.
No.
It's not going to happen. All right. Well, thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.
All right. See you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Before we get to the standards, I just want to mention the letter that I got came in.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. I
mail.
didn't put that on the agenda.
Well, it's board business. EBI Consulting. It's in one of the files.
I'll share it.
The question really is they're looking for any comment because they need a section 106 process.
So this is for this is for oh gosh.
It's for the cell tower that they're building above the cemetery.
Right. Did we already? Didn't we already prepare comment about this previously? But did we never end up sending it?
I think it was before Lloyd and Todd. There were some comments. The question really is whether or not does it impact any of the districts from where this thing is located?
Right. I can't open the letter itself, but let me share the drawings.
Well, okay.
So we can all see it.
Yeah.
So the cemetery itself is outside of the historic district, but it is on the National Register. Is that correct, Al?
No.
No.
Cemetery is not on the National Register.
Is it just the gatehouses?
I don't know if any of it is.
I'll ask.
Can
I'll
someone
ask Carolyn.
review how this landed in our laps? Because
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
One for years and years, right?
Yeah, and I thought that the gatehouse was, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that the gatehouse is, well, we can confirm, but because I believe that that's why they're asking for our opinion, because
Well,
which I'm grateful for, but you know.
well, let me read to you why they're asking us. It says, EBI would like to inquire if you would be interested in commenting on this proposed project. Please refer to the attached project plan, blah, blah, blah. Please note that we are requesting your review of the attached information as part of a Section 106 process only and not as part of local zoning process. We are only seeking comments related to the proposed project's potential effect to historic properties.
Oh, so they're just seeking our opinion?
Yeah.
Great.
And, well, they're looking for potential effect to historic properties.
I pulled up the map and on the website, and it cuts off. I can show it if you want.
Sorry, Lloyd, I couldn't really hear you well.
I was saying that I pulled up the map from the website, and this is it
Okay.
that I'm sharing. So Peekskill Road here.
Yep.
The
Thank you.
cemetery, what cemetery's here, right? Wait,
Yep.
why
Oh, wait,
was
I
that
don't,
other
are you sharing, Lloyd?
drawing of theirs?
I think Lloyd is sharing, right?
No, these are my drawings. Hold on, I'm turning mine off. All right, Lloyd, you should be able to show it.
As I'm sharing. You
Oh,
see
there
it?
you go. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, it's not on this map.
It's not on this map. So Peekskill Road, the cemetery
Correct.
is on
The cemetery is there, and it's sort of in the upper right-hand corner of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking on the Chris thing to see what it says.
Sean, when I looked at Chris, I don't know about, I mean, maybe you already looked at it. I didn't find much.
Yeah, the
Other than-
Cold Spring, the Cold Spring Cemetery Gatehouse. Oh, you know what? Because it's in Nelsonville technically. So, but
Oh.
it is listed, and the phase one. Oh, that's something. That's their architectural survey. And the Cold Spring Rural Cemetery is eligible. So the gatehouse is listed. The oh, okay. So the gatehouse is listed. The cemetery is eligible, and the Plum Bush, which is now Manitou,
yeah.
is listed.
Okay.
Is listed. Phase one architectural. Yeah. Okay. So that's where we come in, I guess. So Al, I would say that I'll look at the I'll pull up the I thought I actually did today, and clearly I didn't, but I'll pull up whatever we wrote the last time, and we can just take a look at that, and then we can circulate that around. And what was the deadline? Didn't they say we had?
You had a month.
We have a month. Okay.
And the letter's dated December 22nd.
Oh, of course.
So it's January 22nd.
So we have January 22nd. Okay. So then, is this something that you are okay with us? I mean, if it's just a memo, we don't have to vote on it. So I can circulate it around, and we can do comments online, and then we can submit it, because our next meeting is not until the 24th. But if it's just a memo, we don't have to vote it in. We can submit it. Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'll find what we did last time, and I'll send it around, and then in the meantime, the drawings and the actual letter are on our website, and if Lloyd will take a screenshot of what he's looking at right now, then he can put that on the server too.
Okay.
Or Andrea, isn't Andrea aren't you the Chris jockey now? Didn't you?
Oh, I did go to that conference.
Yeah.
It was fascinating. No, it really was. And I noticed that there are other historic districts, just really quickly, I know it's getting late. It was a really, really good lecture. So if you were registered, Todd, I'm sure you weren't, but we'll try to get you up to speed. This is a very, very nerdy little corner of historic preservation. But at any rate, it was a really good presentation. And I was interested in the fact that, like, Cold Spring is just really not represented on this map at all, but others, so obviously bigger municipalities, places like Syracuse, Ithaca, you know, bigger kind of like, you know, former Rust Belt cities that are kind of trying to revitalize are really participating in this database. But New York State actually has the biggest database in terms of cataloging historic structures online in an interactive map that we've gone far beyond any other state in the country. It's really amazing what they've done. And
Wow.
I really just want to put Cold Spring, because like we've had a historic district thanks to people like Al for, you know, 30 plus years now. And I mean, there's just no reason in the world. I mean, we have all the information right there. You submit, it's so easy. So I'm in the process of getting myself to be, you know, kind of certified as a person who's trustworthy enough to deliver information to the CRIS system. You can be a citizen. You don't have to be a member of a board or, you know, anyone special, but they just kind of want to vet what's going up there. But I mean, we have all this information, and they talked about what are the blue sheets or the purple sheets, those terrible mimeographs of all the houses. But I mean, if I get access to this program, I can walk around with my iPhone and just take pictures of houses and upload information, and they can vet the information, make sure it's not something insane, and upload it to CRIS. And we could get like every single structure in this village uploaded as quickly as we can do it. So, you know, I'll get it started with myself. And if anyone else wants to get on board, I know, you know, these are stressful times and not everyone has time. I know my time is stretched a little right now. So this has been kind of a protracted application for myself. But I'm really excited about it. I think it would be really fun to just go around snapping pictures of the houses, uploading the information we have. You know, we have those awful mimeographs, but, you know, by and large, they're pretty accurate. It's at least a start. And we can update our information as it comes in.
Can you have multiple assets per address?
What do you mean? Sorry.
Well, like if we had, say, like contemporary images that we took or things that people submitted, but then we also have like Jan Thatcher's pictures, like can one address have many?
Oh, no.
So we could have contemporary and historic images together.
Yes.
This would be a great thing to talk to Hannah Benson about next meeting.
Yeah. Oh, what happened? Oh, Lloyd's on
there. And you know, so I'm just picked a property randomly, but you can have there's an inventory form, so it looks like you can have many different things on it.
It's so easy. It's so organized. It's really amazing.
Photos, it looks like you can.
Okay, well, I guess the question is that we do have that survey that was done, and you know, there is a lot of good information captured there. It's not complete.
Some of that's here.
Yep. And the Campbell estate, Sean, I think it was you who uploaded all that to CRIS, right?
No, not me.
Was it? Oh, maybe it was Kathleen then. I remember there was a discussion about, but the Campbell estate.
It was, if there's anything that's uploaded, then it's just in the, what is the National Register portion of it. And that was uploaded by Dr. Fitch's team.
Yeah. Okay, because
that's
what
you're looking at. That's a document from the 1970s.
No, but Andrea, I think that you're right, because I remember maybe it was Bonnie who said that all of the things that David and Marianne did for their secret approval, I think all of that information had to be uploaded.
That entire file was uploaded to CRIS. I don't know if it was Bonnie, you, Kathleen, it was someone, but during that type 1 process, that entire file was uploaded to CRIS. It's all there. So
which means AKRF probably did the same thing for 126.
Right. So
I didn't see it. I went looking for it and I didn't see it, and unless I overlooked something. Because I really did search the entire village, the entire historic district, and I didn't see anything but the Campbell estate. And then I saw there was this, you know, I mean, look, we have this beautifully preserved village thanks to our historic district and our Herculean efforts over the years. And I think like we should just blast Chris with all the information we have. I mean, we have a lot of information in a very contained little area. I think it's so easy to do. And, you know, personally, I'm just going to make that my little pet project.
Great.
Okay, well, just to give you a heads up on it, one of the reasons why it was not uploaded to the state is because we didn't trust some of the determinations that, you know, I
Al, you're
forget.
talking about 126 Main?
No, I'm talking about
The whole survey, the Larson Fisher survey.
Larson Fisher.
Oh.
That's because they surveyed every single building in the district, and they
Right.
made certain assumptions as far as character defining features, styles, and so on, which we, upon reviewing, doing a sample review, didn't really trust. So that needs to be gone through and verified before we start shipping it up to Albany.
Well, so, you know, my thought is just, you know, as a long-term project, I think when we, whatever, you know, when we glean interesting or pertinent information about a structure within the district, we could even just start with the national district and not expand beyond there. But, you know, as we review these applications, if it's okay with you, Al, I think it would be interesting to submit some of this information.
Well, the issue is that the reason that we solicited the survey to begin with was that we wanted to create a database accessible to the homeowners, because there is a lot of information. I mean, we have somewhere in the files applications that this board reviewed since 1976. So, you know, there are a lot of photographs, there are a lot of drawings, and there's a lot of information. In addition to that, I know that we also have collections of postcards, historic postcards, which show streetscapes and so on.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of information that ultimately should be on some sort of database that should be accessible to the residents, because you know, it's information about the village. And the survey was supposed to be the first step, and ultimately never got beyond that.
Right.
Now, one of the things, because one of the thoughts that I had was that maybe Jen would be a person who maybe could take a lead on that. She does, in fact, want to help out. And this.
Wait, you're talking about Jenny McCarthy?
Who was the other applicant?
Jenny McCarthy.
Okay. Yes.
McRory, sorry, that's her maiden. Yeah, I'm using her maiden name.
But I thought that would be something which perhaps she could dive into, or at least be in charge of, and you know, we can sort of plow through this the existing survey that we have right now, verify that, and start collecting pieces. And in addition to sending it up to Chris, do we want to have a local database that you know, you buy a house in Cold Spring, you can go to a database and find out all the information that has accumulated over the years on your particular house.
How would we create such a database?
I feel like if one already exists and we don't have to pay for it, then I'd rather just utilize that.
Okay. Well,
it's so easy to use. I would just direct people to Chris, and their tax dollars pay for it. So.
Okay.
I mean, maybe what we could do is we could, on our site, on our HDRB site, have a link that brings you, like, kind of pre-searches and brings you directly to our area on Chris, just to make it easier for people, so we can direct them to our site, but ultimately we're using their functionality, because building a database is such a pain. I've done it before. It's awful. And it's like, if they, yeah, it's like every, you know, it's the reason why every studio and architecture firm has like awful file practices, because it's so obnoxious to try to do it. So if we had the ability to just use what we collectively have already paid for, then we should use it.
Well, and also the CRIS database is so sophisticated. Like, it is really remarkable how organized it is. So I think if we could, you know, give a few simple instructions, some pointers on our portion of the village website, create some links. I mean, people aren't stupid. They can figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
Would we want to, instead of getting bogged down with verifying every letter of this survey and every photo and putting a date to the photos and stuff like that, would we want to simply start by uploading just photos?
Yes, you can do that.
Too bogged down with checking through the pages and pages.
Well,
and pages of
well,
material.
all right, but I mean, I don't think that we need to solve the problem. I mean, I think that, you know, I'm a firm believer in not reinventing the wheel. So if CRIS is the preferred database, then let's do that. I think that before we just start doing stuff for the sake of doing stuff, because we're still trying to finish the standards, what I want to do is come up with a plan. In other words, you know, if we have photographs that we can upload to CRIS, well, then let's go ahead and do that. And I think that would at least get the process started. And as we go through the survey, you know, we can upload, you know, buildings as we finish them, finish verifying them. But let's do it methodically and come up with a way of doing it so that ultimately we can get it done.
So Al, all I'm saying is that I was surprised by how incredibly accessible and easy this database is to use. And I'm not saying there's any rush. I was just very excited by its accessibility, its organization, and how easy it is to use. And so I'm, you know, there is what I called it a pet project because to me, I think it's just that. Let's definitely, the design standards are paramount to what we're doing right now. We need to finish that. We have a deadline. But as we chew away, like, you can get permission from the Landmark Society or from SHPO, not the Landmark Society, SHPO, to have access to this database. And you can walk, they encourage you to walk around with your phone and snap pictures of the houses in your historic district and just get the most basic information out there. And then you can dig deeper as time goes on. But I just, all I was saying was that it was a really interesting, you know, development for me.
I agree. I mean, you know, we started the survey with a reason to create a database. If we, and it sounds like CRIS is the database that we want to upload this stuff. But if we're uploading it, we should be confident in the information that we're uploading. And
so I'm saying let's not even use the blue or purple or whatever the heck mimeograph sheets that
she saved it in an Excel format.
Yeah, it's a different thing.
But
the Larson Fisher is more recent.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Andrea, why don't you just check in with SHPO and find out like the timeline on your approval, and then we can talk about it at the workshop, and then we can just make a plan. I mean, even if we don't start doing it until June, we can at least know, you know, because like if you get approved, then would other people be able to use your credentials, or do each of us
No,
need
you
to
can
get
all
approved?
apply.
Yeah,
Everyone on this board can apply. There's really very little limit. I think they just want to sort out.
Okay, all I'm saying is that before we start doing something, let's figure out how we want to do it, because there are certain sources of information that have some question marks next to it. And I don't want to send up bogus information and then take it down.
No, they
You're
sort out.
Being like uploading photo, like walking around, taking pictures, uploading photos of current photos of historic buildings, right?
That's what I'm trying to say, is that at this present, Al, I promise you, I would never upload information that I would not run past you. I promise you. In the meantime, if you just, what I found exciting is that we can just start to begin labeling the catalog where there's a tax map ID, there's a picture of the structure as it currently exists. That's it. Anything else, I would not upload without your approval, even though it does go through Chris or Shippo. Shippo can reject the information that they think is bad information. But
Well,
all I'm
that's
saying
just
is that
it.
it would be nice to get the project going. That's all.
Right.
Representation for Cold Spring in the database, right?
Yeah, I just want to see us on the map because we're literally not on the map.
And it can be a great resource for us as we look at applications, especially
Yes.
built over the years with.
Exactly. That's my.
And it would help get the word out that we are in a historic district so we don't have people buying vinyl windows who don't know that they shouldn't be buying vinyl windows.
Well, there are signs as you drive into the village, and I'm sure that the real estate
Windows
agents probably say, "Oh, it's a historic district," and, you know.
That means nothing to them.
I don't think putting the information on Chris is going to change that. But I think.
But if you put that on the website, if you put that on the village,
Andrea, we're not arguing. All I'm saying is that let's figure out how we want to do it and then do it. You know, we shouldn't just start doing stuff for the sake of doing it.
No, I'm not just doing it. I'm getting permission from Shippo. I'm going through the process to see what it's like, and then I will deliver all that information to all of you so that you know what it's like, and you can join me if you want to.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Lloyd,
Let's move on.
Let's talk about the standards.
Yeah. I want to get comments to Kirsten, and I have comments back from Sean, and I've made some comments, but I'm not complete with my comments, but I'll be doing more. Does anybody else want to contribute before we get to Kirsten for the next iteration?
But you're only submitting to her up to.
My question's mostly about the imagery and where the photography. I didn't have a chance to read through all of it, but I just saw a lot of blocking for where images go. Are they in a different file, or do those images not exist? Do we need to collect those in town?
No, we have a number of images that Sean took. It's been my job to assign them to those blocks, and that's probably the biggest lack in the document so far. So,
do you need more images? Is that something that?
I don't know yet. I don't know.
I think ultimately we probably will, but
probably there's some that aren't going to be right. There's some that we want to get better ones from people in town who have a reputation or a portfolio of better photos. There are some historic photos that we're going to want to use, the postcards, for example, the Jan photos, etc.
Yeah, I think that I wouldn't hold up progress just to try and get a better image. I think we need to finish this document.
Right. So I guess
because Andrea is going to start on the next project, which is the survey. So
that's why I'm saying we'll start that in June.
Yeah.
So now without your permission.
We never did. So what are we going to do about EBI? Are you going to see if you can find out some information about that?
Yeah. I'll send it around tomorrow.
Okay.
Or probably Friday. But so as far as the standards are concerned, then Lloyd, you are going to, you were waiting for comments from everybody else, but are you sending her, did you want to wait until you and I and everybody else had reviewed the document to the end, or were you just going to send her up to that point where we both stopped?
I wanted to send her something a little more comprehensive if I can. I don't want to feed her, I don't want to give her something every 2 weeks. And I said that to her in an email, and she appreciated that. So
so then I'll continue reading through because I was doing that police panel stuff, but that's all over now. So I'll read from wherever we both stopped through the end and send you some more. comments, and then I will be done.
I got all of yours except there was one, right? What was that one?
Oh, it was just something about signs and temporary signs, which I realize now in the existing design standards, we prohibit movable signs, which I feel like are the one thing that we like don't pay attention to, and we totally like turn a blind eye on, which is like, you know, sandwich boards and chalkboards and stuff that people bring in and out every night. But in our existing design standards, it says that they are prohibited.
Really?
No,
I thought
I don't
that
think so. I don't think so.
I thought that they were supposed to be taken, you know, as you just described, you know, in at the end of the day, and you know, maybe out again
Well,
in
it
the morning.
says, oh, maybe I'm, hold on, maybe I'm misreading
That's
it.
what I remember, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, what we said is that if they are movable, then we're not reviewing them because it's assumed that they're taken in and out on a daily basis.
Well, it says, so it says prohibitions, none, the following will not be approved as appropriate in the district. And it's self-illuminated, neon or partially neon, something about confusing pedestrian traffic. Anyway, the last one, oh, no signs or signage supports shall be placed upon the roof of any building. That's good to remember. And the last one, number 5, is portable signs. No portable signs.
Well, elsewhere, I know that they talk because that was that's been an issue for a number of years with the sandwich boards and everything else. And so, if I remember correctly, and I don't know if I still have the standards, but I'm pretty sure that things like signs which are put out and taken in.
Well, it does say that like
exempt.
flags and banners that are brought out, that are put out and brought back in every day, like antiques or open,
Right.
those are allowed, and we don't review them. But it was the first time I was looking for something else, and it was the first time that I noticed that it specifically says no portable signs, which I don't know if that means like the guy in front of the gas station or like anything that's, because if it's portable, then it kind of doesn't, it ceases being a sign in a way.
Yeah, I think that may have referred to, the signs that they have on these wheels, and it's an illuminated sign. I know, for example, one of the things that we were concerned about, in addition to the neon
Right.
and signs, are moving signs which have text that you see,
Yeah,
the little scrolling signs. So maybe that's what that particular paragraph is.
Oh, physically moving. Okay.
But portable sounds like it means that the sign itself is portable. Either way, we should just make sure that in our soon to be adopted new standards, we specify that.
It's probably something we should check against Chapter 64.
Right. Sorry, Todd?
I just said,
Oh, sorry.
You could say digital signage prohibited. That seems like a way of.
Right. I think that that's something everyone's kind of hip to now. Like in the old standards, which were written in 1999, it's like described in such a convoluted way. And now I feel like you could just say that and everyone would know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Todd, because also I remember we had during the design standards updates ream of conversations. I remember we were concerned about, there was this little workaround in town where there were storefronts that were using flat screen TVs shoved up to the window pane as a kind of signage. So yeah, digital, that would cover it, I think.
Oh, that was my question, Lloyd. That was the thing that was the other thing, which was that in the original design guideline draft from Stephanie, there was something about a sign, an interior sign that was within a certain number of feet of a window constituted a sign, even if it was not physically attached to the glass of the building. And that was something that we have to talk about. So we can talk about that.
As far as what?
I think that it said, I think that the note was something like, originally it was 4 feet. Do we want to increase this or decrease this? And I remember talking about it years ago in an editing session, and we never made a decision about it, and it was that exact thing, which is if if somebody puts a TV in their window and uses it as a sign, which nobody really does that specifically. I think people put monitors in their windows to, whether it's the current or it's to show real estate listings, but no one's writing pizza, and just having it illuminated in the window. But
Cold Spring
But
Bed and Breakfast
what-
might have a digital thing. And
yeah, well,
But look at like
I believe
the
that.
people, I mean, not to be cynical, this is a cynical comment, but when the decal workaround was, becoming a trend, it became a trend. And who's to say that we're not going to see it? But I mean, honestly, if people view it as draconian, they're just going to stick a TV in the window.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I guess we just need to determine if we do want to stipulate in the guidelines what that distance is, which makes when is it a sign and when is it an interior feature? That's the question.
Yeah, it's tricky.
But we're not going to decide that at 9:29.
No.
digital
Why not?
it just makes it sufficiently vague and specific at the same time. I mean, kind of, no?
Being vague and specific at the same time. Yeah, I mean, usually we do that if it's something that we know can be done in a way that is allowable or digestible. But I don't know if this is one of those. I mean, I think this is something which, well, speaking for myself, I think it's something which can be inappropriate and is typically always inappropriate. So it's either a kind of a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
It's also tricky because it's a rapidly evolving technology. And so we don't know what we're going to have in 5 years from now.
Right.
I think that's a realistic point of view.
Right. And I guess let's think about it and then we can discuss it at the next session.
Right. And the other thing too is if we are going to say that anything, I think 4 feet is a little extreme, but if we were going to say that it would be anything that is within 18 inches, say, of a shop window is should be reviewed as if it has a sign, it would still only apply to things that are there all the time. So it's not like if somebody is using digital monitors as part of a holiday window display, that wouldn't count as a sign because it's a temporary thing. Or if somebody, just in the same way that if somebody has a sign advertising a sale or a special and it's up for less than 30 days, those aren't things that we look at. So that's another consideration.
Okay.
Andrea, you had minutes.
Quick question. Now, as far as the standards that we are delivering to Kirsten, am I correct that we're still dealing with the main body as opposed to the resource appendices or whatever we're calling them now?
I'm just focusing on that first section, just the first 60-some pages, not the resource guidelines. I think it'd be nice to have her format those. I don't know if we have her contracted to do that, but also that stuff does not have to be as pretty.
But I think that she already did format those.
Good, yeah, I think she did too.
Because that's where that's where we really need more of the images is in the architectural examples around the village, because that's now a resource guide, right? And in the A to Z is a resource guide too. So I think she's already laid those out, and I think I may have made comments on some of them, but I could be forgetting.
If that's the case, I propose that we have a new resource guide, and it's accessing and utilizing for your own benefit the CRIS system. And I nominate Andrea to write that.
That would be great.
I'll second that.
Okay.
I think that's where it belongs. I think it belongs
Yeah.
as a resource guide.
Well, it also could be something that could be coupled with other
Digital
archive, well, just other state archive resources and just kind of a little bit of an information about them, particularly if, well, I'm not going to say that. Never mind.
All right. I think one of the things which I had been thinking about, because I foolishly saw the Putnam County Historical Society and Foundry School Museum as being a resource, but they seem to be very uninterested in sharing their information. But I think that the Butterfield Library, if some of these resources that we're talking about, I'm just wondering if we can convince the library to stock those books so that if you were interested, you can take a trip over to the Butterfield Library and at least look up some of the things that are being talked about.
The
But
books, when you
that
say
is
books, do you mean the books the Putnam History Museum has, or what is?
no. And don't we have a section where we have a lot
Oh,
of book
yeah.
references or resources?
Like Field Guide to American Houses and all those
Right.
types of books.
Why
I
is
mean, they'd be nice if.
Why is the museum so reluctant? What's going on there? Is it just they don't want to encumber
The museum, and it may have changed, and it just you poked a bear.
Yeah.
I had problems with them before when we were trying to write these original standards. I assumed that we would get help from them, and we got Zippo, but it seems like it's a lot of Garrison people who feel that they are the custodians, and that the actual people, the village people, are unworthy of the information that they're collecting. So.
But when was that? Was that the 1999 version, or?
Yes.
So we're
I
talking.
think we're different.
Yeah, we're going back a bit there. So maybe
Todd lived in Garrison in 1999. He can tell you what it was like.
Yeah, it was a much more of a Cold Spring Garrison thing back then.
I was there when they were proposing an addition
forever, so
that had no clue as far as any of the Cold Spring zoning, building codes. I mean, and actually it's sort of a shame because it was a relatively well-known architect. I forget what his name is right now, but
Building?
Who?
For which building? You said an addition?
Well, this was for the Putnam County Historical Society and Foundry School Museum, as it was known back then. But they were going to build it on the right behind the current building. But the thing is that the guy drew it up, had no idea of the context that he was designing it for, and then refused to change anything. So we never supported anything that he did. Okay. let's move on.
Andrea, minutes. Do you want to do them?
You're on mute.
I'm muted. Sorry, I had to check out for just a minute there. Minutes, yeah. If I edited the minutes, it was kind of a heavy edit, but if we want to review them tonight, I'm on board with that. If you would like to wait until at our next voting session at the end of the month, we would be reviewing tonight's minutes and what was it, 12:23. So that would be 113 and 12:23. So that would be 2 sets of minutes. I uploaded 12:23.
Where did you upload it to?
The drive.
Where in the drive? Because I made a folder for today and it's not in there.
All right, hold on. I'm sorry, I'm a Luddite.
That's okay.
If I could share screen, I could actually show you what I have. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh
We'll-
boy,
we'll-
here we go. All right. All right, let me,
Will you do
Files.
the edits?
hold on. Yeah, I have the edits that I did. Oh God.
Are they in Google Docs or Google Drive? Could you maybe have put them-
Drive, I think. Sorry, hold on.
I'm looking in Google Docs has a lot of minutes, so
No, they're like, they seem to just, I couldn't find a folder of any kind to like drop it into.
Yeah, I think what it does, Todd, is Drive organizes everything by like folder and subfolder,
oh,
Mm-hmm.
and Docs is just like
Let me
everything.
see. Ugh. I
Well,
think
the-
oh, okay, maybe
Drive includes all kinds of files. Docs are just like Word files, right?
Right. But I think if you open Google Docs, it doesn't have the file
Okay.
tree that Drive does.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
So
technology,
that's why I have
I'm
the-
sorry, I'm an idiot with this technology, with any technology.
That's okay. So why don't you drop it into the so we have in the 11321 Jan meeting, there's a minutes folder. So just
Okay.
drop your Word document into that, and then I'll open it and share it.
Sorry, I didn't know it existed. Okay, okay, you want me to do that now?
Yeah, just put it in there. We can look at it now.
All right, hold on. All right, so I'm in Drive.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying to go to Docs?
Nope, no. So in Drive, you have
In
do you
Drive.
see the meeting materials folder that's shared with you?
Oh.
Oh, you know what? You're gonna have to go under where it says My Drive on the left.
Right.
You're gonna have to click on Shared with Me.
Shared with me, okay.
And then there's a folder from me that says Meeting Materials, all
Oh.
caps.
God, okay,
So
sorry.
double click on that. Double click on 011321 Jan meeting.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, new materials. 011321. Okay, yep.
And then in there's a folder that says minutes. So open that folder,
Oh,
and it's empty.
okay.
And then just
So
drag it.
sorry.
That's
Got
fine.
it.
Just drag it and drop it off of your wherever, desktop or whatever.
I didn't. Okay, hold on. Now I've done something to Zoom. Okay, let me move over here.
Are we having a meeting next week?
Next week is the 20th.
Yeah.
We don't have a scheduled meeting next week.
I have issues next week because of the holiday. Some of my stuff got pushed today. from
Okay, it's
Tuesday.
there.
I also have a conflict next week, so I wouldn't be able to meet again. But but of course you can meet in my absence. But our next meeting is on the 27th. Sorry, 27th.
27.
Okay, it's there.
All right, so I'm going to open it up now, and I'm going to share it with everybody.
Okay, now I know how to do that. So that would be
The other
fun.
thing that you can do too, Andrea, is so does Michael? Michael puts the minutes. He does the minutes in Word, and then he emails you the Word file.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, maybe in this situation, in this current configuration, maybe Michael, maybe you could just drop it. I don't even, cause I'm saying maybe because I don't even know if he has access to our drive. Could he just drop it into our drive?
Do you have access, Michael?
I don't know if he does.
I could give Michael access. The other thing is, Andrea, there's a way where you can directly through Gmail just add a document. Like if Michael sends you an attachment, you can just put it directly into the drive. And then that way it's already in there, and then you could do all of your edits onto the same. So as opposed to you downloading it, doing your edits on your computer, and then uploading it to the drive, you can just put it directly through.
So stupid question. If I'm editing it, say on my own laptop, will it be updating all those changes in the drive? Is it in the cloud or do I
You have to edit it. You
In
edit it
Drive.
through the Google, through a web
Okay.
page.
Got it. Okay, that's fine. It doesn't matter to me, just which platform I use. I just want to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So let me share what we have. The other thing is I could also just share the folder with Michael and he can just drop it in there directly, but I just don't know if Michael's
Doesn't matter. I don't mind
Google
doing
Docs
it.
person.
I just had to learn Google Classroom and all the rest. And yeah.
All right. So does everybody see the minutes?
Yes.
So this is
The public hearing.
the public hearing for 2931 Rack Street. If people want to like open it on your own machine, you can. Otherwise, I'm just going to scroll through.
Well, I think that this is something which we need to look at carefully because
Okay.
it sounds like the lawyers are going to be crossing T's and dotting I's.
Okay. So then so that's in there now. And then if Andrea and Michael can put together today's minutes, then we'll, if everybody can commit to looking at both of them before the next meeting, we can vote on them. Because everybody's welcome to make edits. Todd, obviously the 23rd meeting you can't vote on, so ignore that one. But
Well, this gets voted on.
we vote on it. So Michael writes the minutes, he sends them to Andrea to edit, Andrea sends them to us, and then we collectively have to vote to accept them. But usually we make minor modifications as we vote to accept them. But so we vote on the minutes from previous week's meetings whenever they're done, which is usually very swiftly. So I'm not saying that it's like we put it off, but.
I actually think it would, now that I'm looking at it, I think it would make sense for me to really sit down with, like Al just mentioned, we have lawyers involved. For me, I have a lot of information to pack into this meeting's minutes, the 113 meeting. And the two meetings worked together. They were two components of the same public hearing. So I think it would make sense if I took some more time with the 113 meeting, and I will be more timely about that. I'm sorry, I got very distracted by having my family thrown right back into my house because of the school closing. So that was a big distraction for me, but so far, so good. I would like to spend some time with the 113 meeting minutes, and I will throw that up onto the drive right away. And I will start making my edits, and then everyone else can start making their edits, and then we can join those two sets of minutes together when we vote at the end of the month.
Okay, let's do it this way. How's the 19th? I mean, strictly to review minutes and approve minutes.
Okay.
The 19th?
Just a minutes meeting?
19th, yeah.
Okay. No, that'd be great.
I mean, that way at least we can get them out of the way.
Oh, yeah, that could probably work for me.
You said 19th, like 1/9, right?
Yeah.
1/9. It's in. Yeah, we'll just have to.
Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. Mm-hmm.
We'll just have to announce it.
7. Later.
I could do it from a train, sure, I guess so.
Well, I mean, what we can do is we can do it later because it's going to be just for the minutes and nothing else.
But here's the other thing, Lloyd, you can edit the minutes. If I throw it up onto the drive, you can be editing, submitting your edits. We don't even need to talk to you, really.
Right.
Yeah, because we'll have quorum without you. Well, no, we can talk to you, Lloyd, over the phone, but I'm saying you don't need to be looking at it while you talk to us.
Oh, I can fire up my computer in the train and look at it if I want, but
it's not essential,
But we can take your input and everything else, but we will have quorum to vote on it even without you, because there'll still be 3 of us. So, but Andrea, you are just going to have to make sure that the 1223 and the today, they do have to be separate minutes, because even though it's a continuation of the public hearing, Todd was
Oh,
not
no, I know they
at,
have to be separate.
Right,
No,
okay.
you're saying they have to be separate documents. No, I know that,
Right,
but I'm
right.
saying that they work together. They
Yes, 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 yes.
piggyback off of each other. So it would honestly make sense to review them together, is what I'm
Right.
saying. Yeah.
Okay.
Sean, would you want me to be taking minutes of the minutes on the 19th?
No, you don't need to. I'll take minutes for the minutes meeting.
No.
And I'll be preparing the minutes of tonight's meeting tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, great.
So you'll
so then if you guys have them over the weekend. So Michael, if I share the Google folder with you, are you able to, do you use Google Docs?
This will be my first time, but it seems
Okay.
pretty straightforward.
Do you want to, or would you rather just do it the way you've been doing it? It's fine either way.
It's fine.
I'd rather do it the way we've been doing it.
Okay, that's fine.
Totally fine.
Now, the one question I have concerning when it's on Google Docs, and for example, Lloyd is doing the edits on Google or in Google Docs, should those be using track changes?
Yeah, it's called suggestions in Google Docs.
Okay.
So if you just do it in suggesting mode, then it'll say who did what. You don't have to do this, Andrea, because you're doing the actual, like, we're making.
I finally figured it out
Right.
when I saw Lloyd.
Well, no,
doing
but
it real
we're
time.
making comments on your work, so you don't have. So you just edit in, you make changes, and
But I
then
understand that I can accept the changes.
right,
But
and
instead
then
of
we'll
printing them out and typing it back.
right, yeah. You don't need to use your like scissors and Scotch tape and ransom note.
Why not?
Yeah. Right. So Al, if you're adding things, just do it as a suggestion, and then we'll accept them all during the meeting. All right. So Michael and Andrea will put together the minutes from 12:23 and 1:13, and everyone will make sure that they have added their comments before the 19th, and I will post the 19th. Oh, okay. I'll post the 19th as a voting session. I'll just need to make sure that we have the Zoom room available. I'll have to ask Jeff if anyone else uses it that night. If anyone else does use it that night, then we'll have to figure out, we can just do some other way of doing it.
Yeah,
We'll figure it out.
pick another day, like,
No, we
maybe
can still do it
Thursday.
that night. We'll just have to use a different Zoom account, which we can work out.
Yeah.
As long as we
Sean,
post
quick
it.
question. So are you going to, so now that I understand your folder system, are you going to create a 119
Yep.
folder, and then I dump both sets of minutes into that minutes folder?
Right.
Okay.
All right, great. And everything in the meeting materials, that like main folder is shared with everybody. So once it's in there, all of us are able to see it.
Sorry, I had no idea.
That's
Okay.
fine. And then you can share subfolders. Like I think we had to share something with Matt a couple of months ago. So,
Okay.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
yes, I move to adjourn.
Second? Go for it, Todd.
Yeah.
Low risk.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 All right. So, the 19th, unless we hear otherwise.